Thank you to Morris Arkeltum for their generous donation on Patreon.
Wind blows pleasantly through my fur, seeping underneath and cooling my sweating skin. The smell of the desert, sagebrush, and dirt overwhelm my senses. Everything is black around me, but there are a million stars above me. I hear the smattering of small feet running circles around my body, snuffling of noses up against my sides and neck. Mixed into the sounds of the wilder words, languages I don't understand, chanting and singing, the sounds of dancing. Then another language. I hear a word or two that I learned from Leo years ago, and then my own language. And above it is all maniacal cackling, one that builds and fades before choking off into a sob. The first feeling I have is one of confusion. I feel stiff and cold, and I'm lying back on something hard. I expect to see stairs above me when I open my eyes, but instead all I see is blackness. Panic starts to well up inside me. My breathing quickens, and though it's hard and painful, I manage to push myself up into a sitting position. That's when I see a gentle glow coming from an opening about 30 feet away from me. Where am I? The last thing I remember was the lake. Wait, no, Carl's house is the last thing I remember. I went back to his house after the lake. Did I fall asleep in his house somewhere? I feel around on the floor with my hands and can feel wood underneath me. It creaks as I shift around. Carl? My voice comes out hard and crackly. I have to lick my lips several times to keep them from sticking together. I call out again, but more softly this time, because now I'm starting to wonder if someone else brought me here. When I don't hear anything, I start to crawl forward, look towards the light. My head throbs a little, and there's a coppery taste in my mouth. Oh shit. Probing my tongue around, I taste the sour of bites along my cheeks. What does that mean? I start to run through a list of things that could have happened. I was in Carl's basement, and I just sort of seized up. Did someone hit me over the head? I stop crawling and start moving my hands around my body and over my head. No sign of injuries. Aside from the cheek bites, it's really just the inside of my head that hurts. While I do this, lucidity starts to return in waves, as if a dam has broken and all my senses are falling back into place. At the same time, the panic starts to return as I realize how much this doesn't make sense. Someone had to have brought me here, wherever here is. I start crawling again, trying to keep my panic under control. I'm almost to the glow, but it's weird because it's coming from the ground. As I get closer, I hear a soft brushing behind my head. I tense and look over my shoulder. I'm greeted by the sight of inky blackness, so dark that it feels alive, and I get the impression of a giant mouth opening up in front of my face. The imagery gives me a jolt, and I lunge forward, deciding to get up on my feet so I can move fast, and then I'm falling, but not for long. My senses are full of light now, and I throw my hands forward to catch myself, but I keep falling. In a split second before I hit, I realize there's a ladder. Instinctively, I grab at it, but my head hits the rungs first, and I flip forward before landing on my feet. Ow. Oh, ow. It happens on my weak ankles, though, and my right foot gives out my ankle rolls. Ouchie mama! I hear a series of pops before the rest of my body hits the floor. Where's this? I lay there for a moment, the sudden noise and violence of the fall stunning me. In my stupor, I feel a cold spiderweb of electricity pulsing from my ankle, and that's what spurs me to move. I pull myself into a sitting position to clutch at it. Fuck. The pain isn't really bad, but something is definitely wrong, and I'm not sure that I can just walk it off. That's when I notice my surroundings. A long hallway stretches out to either side of me, lit by decorative chandeliers. Looking up, I see that I've fallen a drop-down ladder from a small square in the ceiling. What the hell? I look back down at my ankle. I will get around and immediately feel another pulse of electricity that feels much more painful this time around. I grit my teeth as I spread my hands out against the wall behind me, pushing myself up slowly, making sure not to put any weight on my injured ankle. As I'm doing this, I hear soft clopping sound coming from my right. At the end of the hall, it looks like a sharp right. It sounds like the noises are coming from that turn. My throat tightens and I press myself harder up against the wall. I see a shadow slide up the carpet at the end of the hallway, and I hold my breath. The shadow stops too, and I get the feeling that whatever it is, might be holding its own breath. Finally, the tension gets to me, and I clear my throat nervously. Carl? Chase? Carl! I let out a gasp of relief, and I almost sagged down the wall. More clopping of footsteps, and Carl appears around the corner. His eyes are wide and his nostrils flare. He stumbles up to me, his hands clasped together nervously. Holy shit, dude, it's so fucking good to see you. I press up harder against the wall, taking more weight off my foot. What the hell is going on? I don't know, I just woke up, you okay? He looks at me, then down at my foot. Are you hurt? I gesture up at the ladder. I fell down that thing. Carl looks up at the ladder and the dark hole it leads up to. What were you doing up there? I don't know. I just woke up in the dark and tried to crawl out. Shit. Carl bends down to look at my ankle, which is clearly starting to swell. Can you walk? I think so, kind of. He stands back up and looks around. Chase, I don't know what's going on. I just woke up in a bedroom up the hall like 20 minutes ago. Is this not part of your house? Carl lets out a breathy, incredulous laugh. No, definitely not. I was trying to find a window, but I can't. Maybe we're in a basement or something? The last thing I remember is your crawl space. Why would they have an attic in a basement? I look back up the dark hole in the ceiling. Maybe it's not an attic. Chase, I'm freaking out. And it shows too, his breathing is picking up, his wide nostrils starting flaring again. I reach out and put a hand on his shoulder, giving him reassuring squeezes. Oh, it's okay. Maybe we got really high or drunk or something. What's the last thing you remember? Carl starts clicking his fingers together again, looking away up the hall. The lake? Yeah, I remember we went back to your house, then down to the basement, and then... Carl frowns. I don't remember. I watch him carefully. But then I remember looking behind the plastic bins, and there was this... Help! We both jump as the scream comes from right down the hall. Carl and I both look at each other wide-eyed. The hell? Hello, was someone out there? It sounds like Raven. Carl starts to hesitantly walk up the hallway, and I move to follow, and immediately regret it as I put weight on my ankle. It's completely stiff now, and the pain shoots up into my shin like lightning. My gasping causes Carl to turn around in confusion, and then his eyes light up when he sees my leg. Oh shit, here. He reaches out and I wrap an arm around his neck. He's sturdy and strong and easy to lean against, and I sigh with relief as I take the weight off my injured ankle. Somebody! We hobble our way down the hall, following the sound of Raven's panicked voice. We take a left at the end of the hall and are confronted with an almost identical hallway in the last. That's when I start to smell smoke. Do you smell that? Carl puts his nose up. Something burning? Help me! I almost jump again as the sound comes from on our left, the only door on the left side of the hallway. We both look at the door for a moment. Carl's ears perked straight up. And we both jump again as the door shakes from several heavy bashes that rattle the frame. Help! The cry is mournful, like he's given up. Raven? The shaking and pounding stops. Carl? Carl! The voice instantly turns hopeful and the voice grows muffled, as if Raven is pressing his muzzle right up against the door. I'm stuck and the door won't open, and there's a fire! What? Chase? There's something burning on the stove or something. I can't see it. Me and Carl look at each other in bewilderment. Guys, it's getting really smoky in here. I can't really see anything. He gives a cough. And it's really hard to breathe. All right, hold on a sec, man. We'll get you out. Carl shifts me to the wall, and I can lean against it, and he tries the doorknob. The knob barely turns, clearly locked. Shit. Yeah, it's locked. It's getting really hot in here. Hold on. Carl subs his shoulder up against the door. It gives a few creaks, but otherwise stays solid. Please help. His plaintive whimpering is barely audible through the thick wood. What kind of lock is it? Maybe we can pick it. Carl studies the knob. I don't think a paperclip is going to work. I lean in to look and find myself staring at an old-fashioned keyhole. The hell? Raven, can't you unlock it from that side? No, there's nothing here! Guys, I can't breathe! His voice is getting desperate again. There's no other way out? No other door in there? Raven doesn't answer, and Carl and I both wait for a good 10 seconds. Raven? Ah! We both jump for a third time before Carl presses his face up against the door. Raven, what happened? A few seconds later, we hear his coughs, and then Raven's voice is lower, up against the bottom of the door, as if he's laying down. Something in the smoke, help! What's in the smoke? My mind flashes back to what I heard in the attic. Something, can't see, open the door! Fuck, alright man, stand back! I don't know if he's talking to me or Raven, but I step back anyway. Carl takes a few steps back, then throws his body forward, smashing up against the door. It shudders a little bit, and I hear a crack or two, but otherwise, there's no change. Tries it again with the same result. Carl, I don't think that's gonna work. Carl didn't say anything and stood backing up until his back touches the opposite wall, takes a deep breath and charges forward, his head down this time. Oh shit. Instinctively I close my eyes, imagining Carl snapping his neck right in front of me. The impact is much louder this time, and it's accompanied by a crunch. When I open my eyes, it's not Carl's neck that's broken, but rather the wooden door. Carl's head is completely busted through the door, and his head is poking in the other side. I stare, expecting to see the tendrils of black smoke sneaking through the back door, but there's nothing. Carl sits his hands on the other side of the door, apparently looking for taking a look around. Raven, you okay? I walk up to Carl's side and put a hand on his back. Carl, what is it? Is there a fire? Carl braces himself against the door before pushing back, yanking his head out of the opening. He comes up with a bunch of wooden splinters clinging to his head fur and beard and sweatshirt. Nothing. I dug down and looked through the opening as well, taking care to keep weight off my injured foot. I'm greeted to the side of a brightly lit dining room and kitchen, but it's clear. No smoke in sight. It was really black in here a second ago. I look down at the trembling voice of Raven below me and see the husky curled up, his head poking up from the fetal position. Hey, Chase. Hi. I don't know what happened. There was smoke everywhere. It's like when you open the door, it all got sucked out. I sniff, and now I can't even get a whiff of smoke, aside from the residual taste I still have of it in the back of my throat. I hear a click next to my head and look over to see the doorknob twist. I pull my head out of the hole, and Carl pulls the door open. Are you kidding me? It was locked, right? It was definitely locked. Raven gets up, brushing shaky hands down his shirt. You okay, man? Yeah. Just thought I was gonna die for a second. I watch as Raven struggles to keep his ears perked. What happened? Raven takes a deep breath. I don't know. I just woke up in here and smoke started coming out of the stove or oven or something. You said you saw something? Yeah, something in the smoke. It looked like arms or something. Carl and I look at each other. But it might have just been the smoke. I look around the room, scanning it for any signs of the black smoke that Raven was so adamant about having seen. I don't think he was just seeing things, because I'm pretty sure I hadn't imagined the smell. I promise I'm not lying. It's just what I saw. I think the bigger issue here is that we're here at all. I mean, where the hell is here? I spread my hands out, giving an incredulous laugh. I thought maybe it was just another part of your house. Raven looks at Carl. I mean, I went downstairs after you guys and found this hole, and then everything went dark. Carl looks down. Same here, I followed Carl. We both look at Carl, but it doesn't say anything, instead just moving past Raven into the large kitchen next to the dining room. I hobble after him, then reach out to lean against the counter. I try to gather my thoughts. Everything still feels dreamlike, surreal, and my thoughts are sluggish. Carl, do you have any idea what happened? I mean, that hole. Did you go there too? Carl sits his hands on his hips, eyes wandering around the room. Honestly, I can't remember anything that happened after the lake, man. Raven casts a sidelong look at me before moving next to Carl. Well, maybe it will just take you a second before you can remember. I was really confused when I woke up here. I was curled up over there on that counter. Raven points to a marble-top counter under a row of over a dozen pans hanging from a fixture attached to the ceiling. We stand there in silence as I imagine we individually absorb the situation we're in. Carl, are you sure this isn't some extension of your house? Maybe something that leads out into the crawl space, out of the crawl space? The ram laughs, but it definitely isn't genuine. Dude, I'd like to know if this was part of my house. Unless my parents just been building the secret kitchen underground for who knows how long. Do you think I had something to do with this? Even though I was implying that he might know more, Carl's sudden jump to being defensive catches me by surprise. No, I just wonder if you might have any more ideas since it's your house, you know? Carl laughs again. I'm struck by the fullness of it. Usually when Carl laughed, it was crackly and half-hearted. Now it's loud and a little abrasive. Think I just waited in the shadows and drugged you all with acid or some shit? I don't respond, just watching Carl as he stares back at me, breathing hard. Raven coughs loudly. Hey guys, let's calm down. You know, I'm kinda hungry. Why don't we make some food? It seems to break Carl out of his stare down with me as he looks over at Raven and huffs out one of his more characteristic chuckles. Really, Raven? Yeah, that always makes me feel better. Raven starts opening up cupboards, but each one is empty. Carl turns back to me, frowning. Sorry, Chase, I'm just fucking freaked out too. Thing is, I don't think we're in my house anymore. He chuckles again. I mean, are we even in Echo? What time is it anyway? I reach in my pocket to check my phone, and that's when I remember I have a fucking phone. I almost jump with the realization and shove a hand in my pocket and pull it out. Why didn't they think of that before? What? Phone? I pull it out excitedly and hit the button to turn the screen on, and I'm met with a black screen. My phone's dead. Fuck. Are you kidding me? I hold the power button down, but nothing happens. Look up to see Raven and Carl getting similar results. Raven shaking is as if that's gonna help. Carl shakes his head. Were we out that long? This is crazy. I press a hand in my face for a moment, the idea that this could still be some sort of dream coming to mind. I remember after taking an overnight job back when I was a freshman and how that had fucked up my sleeping schedule. That in turn gave me all kinds of fucked up realistic dreams. Sleep paralysis plagued me to the ends of my wits, and I remember one time I thought I'd never be able to get up. I was stuck in bed, but each time I sat up and thought it was over, I'd end up sort of waking up again, still lying down, stuck in my paralysis. Dreams within dreams within dreams. No food either. My scattered thoughts collect together long enough for me to decide on the next course of action we should take. Alright, this is stupid. We should go out and look around. We'll find a way out eventually. Yeah, we need to do that. I looked around a little, but didn't find anything. But the pain that's shooting up from my ankle is very real, and just glance down at the ever-growing swelling confirms it. The suspicion that we've somehow been drugged grows, but I don't want to upset Carl again, so I don't mention it. Okay, yeah, let's stick together and go. We'll find a way out. Aw, I'm hungry. We can eat when we get out. There's no food here anyway. Oh, fuck. Carl's at my side instantly, reaching out a hand to steady me. Dude, you alright? What happened? I lean all my weight on the counter at this point, just letting my foot dangle as I hold off the ground is painful. He fell down a ladder and landed on his foot wrong. What? But it's only now that it's really starting to hurt. I say it through gritted teeth. The pain is actually making me sweat, and I'm realizing I may have done more than just sprain it. I don't think I can walk like this. How'd you fall down a ladder? He woke up in an attic here. Carl hunches down in front of me. My stupefied brain thinks up a butt sex joke, but I managed to keep it canned. You sure? I could just lean against you. That'll take too long. Besides, it looks like you can't walk at all right now. Hesitantly, I let go of the counter and let myself sort of fall forward onto the ram's back. He's sturdy and barely budges as I lean all my weight onto him. Carl reaches back with both hands and hitches my legs off the ground as he stands, and I feel all the muscles in his back flex as he does. Damn, Carl, you work out? Carl grunts. Little bit. I move my head to the side and keep from knocking my nose against his horns. It's a smart move because just then Carl nods his head in Raven's direction. Hey, I know this is kind of fucked up, but maybe grab a kitchen knife? Raven raises his eyebrow at Carl. Why? I immediately see what Carl's getting at. We have no idea where we are or who put us here. Might be safe to be ready to defend ourselves, you know?
And you said you saw something in the smoke.
Raven's eyes widen and he reaches out slowly to pull a knife from a silver-looking knife block. The husky frowns at the shing sound it makes. His ears down and elbows in. It's clear he's never used anything as a weapon before. But I can't blame him, neither have I. You used a broom! I remember that. You were ready.
I don't know if I should be the one to do it, though. Well, you're not strong enough to hold Chase. Well, I've got my hands tied.
He looks back at me.
If anything happens, though, I'll have to drop you to help him out, okay, man?
I chuckle softly. Yeah, no problem. Let's just hope that doesn't have to happen. And with the shaky husky in the lead, we set off back into the hallway. Immediately, it's clear that wherever we are isn't very large. 4 identical hallways lead us around in a perfect square. Each hallway has 3 doors to the right, 1 on the left, and a hatch in the ceiling that leads to the attic. What also becomes immediately clear is that the door on the left leads into the kitchen, but from the kitchen, there's only that 1 door out. What the hell? Each time we open the door to the kitchen, we come to realize that the angle in which we enter is the same. The first time this happens, we're mostly just confused, wondering if maybe we backtrack somehow. After the second time, though, Raven laughs.
This isn't real. We're on drugs or something.
We're all seeing the same thing?
Or I'm just having this dream and none of you are real, eh?
The husky's voice is bordering on crazy. That paired with his grin, paired with him holding a knife, is slightly disconcerting. Carl huffs, hitching me up higher on his shoulders.
Alright, calm down. Just don't think about it. Let's try the other doors.
I'm a little surprised at how well Carl is taking all of this. I wonder if part of it has to do with any of the weed that might be still in his system. We start trying the doors on the right, and this time things are different. The first door opens up to a wall, just an extension of the beige color of the wall surrounding it. We stare at it for a few moments, and the first time I get a deep, unsettling terror in the pit of my stomach. I managed to keep it from rising to the surface, but all of this bizarre imagery combined with the surreal haze is making me feel sick and claustrophobic.
Bummer. That's definitely not the way out. On to the next door.
Carl chuckles again, and I feel myself cling to his attempt at humor just to keep myself sane. The next door opens up to what looks like a bathroom. It's definitely not a modern one, though, since it's complete with a pull-down chain from that high tank.
Well, at least we got all the essentials right.
Damn, Carl, you're going hard to make us okay. The next door reveals a room of tools and chains hanging from the ceiling, along with a sawhorse. The walls, though, are lined with wooden planks, and Carl gently sets me against the hallway wall before hurrying in and peering at the wood.
Fuck, it's just concrete behind it.
I don't bother to ask what the hell is going on again. I'm just starting to accept that where we are can't be explained. More doors are open, 12 in all. One is completely white and empty, another contains a frilly bedroom, which is where Carl says he woke up. Further along, we come across what looks like an office, along with a room decorated with sofas and a chandelier. When we reach one of the doors in the last hall, though, something is different. Oh shit. The first thing I notice is the smell. Though it's faint, I can tell it's sweet in the most disgusting way possible.
Oh, what is that?
Raven holds a hand out to his nose as we approach the second to last door in the hall. This one is clearly damaged. The wood is splintered in the middle, bulging out slightly as if it had been punched from the other side. We all stare it for a moment, the smell growing stronger. Then it hits me. Oh God, do you think? I can't finish, covering my muzzle with both hands. Raven, who had been right up next to the door, steps back with an arm up around his face, looking like he's about to throw up. I imagine the smell is a lot worse for him. Maybe we skip this one for now. Carl hesitates, then gently sits me down against the wall again.
We need to check every door. This could be the way out, you know.
Oh, Jesus. He looks back at me, but I don't say anything, just grimacing at the door. He holds out a hand to Raven.
Knife.
After handing it over, Raven takes several more steps back, further up the hall. Press my hands to my muzzle, readying myself to shut my eyes. As Carl turns the knob, I grit my teeth. This room had no illumination, therefore we have to rely on light from the hallway to see inside. As the light from the opening door spreads across the room, I see that it's rather simple. The walls are concrete, peppered with craters and rocks. The floor is smoother, but with webs of cracks on its surface. I can't see the ceiling, but I do see what's hanging from it. Once the door opens completely, there's enough light to fully take in exactly what it is. A noose, frayed and old-looking, but unmistakably a noose. Carl stares at it, then sticks his head in further to look back and forth before stepping back to close the door.
Well, what was it?
Raven calls from up the hall, his hands clasped nervously together. I notice then that the rotting smell is completely gone now, instead of getting stronger when Carl opens the door.
Nothing. Empty room.
I see Carl visibly trying to keep his breathing under control as he holds the knife out to Raven before bending down in front of me again.
Really? Oh, thank God.
Carl trembles as he stands up with me in tow. As the husky moves on to the final door, I lean into Carl's cheek. You okay? Did you see anything? He turns his head towards mine, touching his cheek to mine.
Aside from the rope, no.
It's hard to say whether or not I believe him, or if he's just trying to protect me from whatever he saw in there. Either way, I don't press for it. The last door is locked. It's big and made of small logs. Its deep brown color contrasts with all the others. Raven jiggles the handle a few times, and Carl tries to take looks into the cracks between the logs, but it's completely black. So that's it? That's all the doors? I'm starting to feel a certain level of panic again now that we know that we're stuck. Carl, I think, picks up on that and comes over to where I'm leaning against the wall to set a hand on my shoulder.
It's alright, man. We haven't checked the attic either. I mean, there aren't any windows like you said. We're probably in a basement or something, right?
The reassuring hand feels good, but it's not exactly enough to keep me from feeling a certain level of despair. Honestly, I think I'm still dreaming right now. Carl doesn't say anything to that. Raven sidles up next to us.
Well, dream or not, I'm still pretty hungry.
We both glance at Raven like, "Oh, you!" And I can't help but give a little laugh at the grin on his face. I guess, at least for now, it's best to just not think about it. We head back to the kitchen, which doesn't take very long because every door to the left leads to it. We all split up to search the many cupboards and drawers of the kitchen for food. We come up mostly empty, only finding silverware and cooking utensils here and there. Because of my injury, I cover a lot less ground, only able to hobble around along the counter, using it as a crutch as I move down a lot of cupboards. Even if we were able to find any food, there's no way I'd be able to cook it. The only thing I'd ever been able to make on my own was a grilled cheese sandwich back when I was in high school. Even then, I'd almost burned down the house when I dropped a piece of bread on the gas stove. In a panic, I threw the flaming bread across the kitchen into the living room. I smile at the memory as I open the last cupboard along the wall, and right in front of me is a block of cheese in a glass plate. What? Next to it is a loaf of bread and a plastic bagging and a small square of butter wrapped in wax paper. What? I stare for a moment, waiting for the food in front of me to disappear. I even blink a few times to be sure. Guys.
What's up?
You seeing this?
What?
Cheese, bread, and butter. I stand to the side and Raven perks up.
Oh, you found food! I swear I already checked that cupboard.
Raven is next to me a few seconds later, reaching in to take out the food. For a moment, I swear the bread blurs as he pulls it out, and I have to shut my eyes for a moment to keep from feeling sick. I feel Carl support me from behind, his hands on my shoulders.
Whoa, dude, you alright, Chase?
I grab onto the counter again. Yeah, it's just... Carl waits for a moment.
What?
I was thinking about grilled cheese before I opened this cupboard.
Like, you wanted a grilled cheese sandwich, but really badly, and it popped up?
Sort of.
Huh.
Carl walks up to the bread and bends over, observing it closely.
It looks real. It is real!
Raven walks up to the cupboard where he had pulled food from and closes it.
Alright, I'm wishing for a steak!
He closes his eyes for a moment, then reaches out to pull the cupboard back open, smiling expectantly. It's empty. Aww. Oh, man.
Well, grilled cheese isn't bad.
Oh, that's funny. Raven moves back to the counter to grab one of the pans hanging from the rack. Carl moves over to my side as Raven turns the gas stove on with a click, click, click of the igniter.
Dude, I think one of the important things to do right now is to stop questioning this place. We just can't make sense of it.
I fold my arms. It has to be a dream. Carl puts an arm around me.
Maybe, but dude, I'm just glad I'm not here alone.
I nod in agreement. Yeah, I don't think I'd be able to deal with that.
Let's just take it one step at a time for now, man.
I manage a small smile. Are you high right now? Carl laughs.
Man, I wish.
I hear the sizzling of the melting butter as Raven plops it on the pan. Carl and I go about setting slices of cheese in the bread as Raven starts searing them. The action of making food is enough to calm me down at least a little, and the other two keeping high-heeled spirits lift mine. Before long, there are 6 grilled cheese sandwiches stacked up on a plate. They look good.
They look good!
But after the first bite, I almost let the food fall back out of my mouth. What the fuck? I look over to see Carl and Raven pulling similar faces.
Oh, it kind of tastes like chalk. You know what chalk tastes like? Yeah, I ate some when I was a kid.
He has a point. It's dry and crumbly, almost inedible.
Well, it still sort of tastes like grilled cheese. Sorta.
I don't think this is food.
It's not that bad. Besides, it's all we've got.
Raven forces another bite and so does Carl. I can't bring myself to do it. My ankle, the smoke, the dead body smell, and the noose. It's all too much for me to deal with right now. I watch Carl and Raven talk back and forth, and I'm again struck by how surreal this all feels. I think back to the time I first got stoned from a stupid pot muffin and how nothing felt real, how I felt like I wasn't in control. It's like that only 10 times. It's like that, but only 10 times worse. I wonder if the others feel the same. Something ebbs into the surface of my mind, trying to break through the veil of fog shrouding my mind. What are we doing? Why are we sitting here eating when we could be trying to figure out a way to get out? Get the fuck out! I open my mouth. What?
What?
What is this odd music and... I struggle to keep my food down and instead choose to look hard at the tablecloth.
You not hungry?
Raven is looking intently at my half-finished sandwich. That was fucking weird. That was really fucking weird. Nah, you can have it. I slide my glass plate across the table to Raven. Carl watches me but doesn't say anything, slowly chewing. I subconsciously note that he'd eaten around the crust, leaving those on his plate. We start discussing what else we might have been able to do here, other possibilities of how we could get out. That was fucking weird. We start discussing what else we might be able to do here, other possibilities on how we could get out. The attic is really the only place we haven't been yet, but because it's so dark, we're not so sure about going.
Well, why don't we sleep on it and figure out what we'll do when we wake up?
That's a horrible idea. Raven yawns widely.
That sounds good to me. It feels like it's been hours.
It does feel that way, but without our phones, it's really impossible to tell. This is fucking weird. Leaving our plates where they are on the table, Raven leads us back out into the hallway. It takes us a few minutes to find the right door, considering everything looks identical, though we take special care to avoid the damaged door. As Raven moves into the bedroom, Carl leans against the wall, turning his head back towards to talk back to me.
Hey, we're gonna be alright, okay?
I look back at the one green eye I can see and will myself to squash the boiling pit of dread in my stomach. Okay, it's just that I can't believe this is happening, you know?
I gotcha. I just want you to know that I'll be here for you, okay?
I look back at his gaze for a while, to the point where I think he's getting uncomfortable. I sigh. You guys are just acting really weird about all of this.
Yeah?
Well, I guess Raven is being Raven, but you're acting different.
Really? How?
I swallow. Just yesterday you were throwing up over a job interview, and now you're level-headed while I'm the one freaking out. I laugh a little. I just don't understand what's going on is all. Carl sets me down against the wall and turns to me with a hug.
Hey man, I don't know either. I'm just trying to keep it together too.
The hug surprises me, but I take it gratefully. I stare over his shoulder at the uniform hallway. Despite Carl's efforts, the worrying feeling returns. Raven pokes his head around the doorway.
Hey guys, that little sofa thing is awesome. I'll sleep there. You two can have the bed.
This is really weird. And of course, I dream. I'm running through the endless hallways. All kinds of hallways, including one that looks like a space station and another that looks like a medieval castle. In each one, I run into locked doors. Because of this, I can only move through the halls, never knowing of what's behind those doors. Eventually, I wake up, but my dead limbs and heavy head tell me I'm not awake. Not fully. I brace myself and shut my eyes again. My heart thumps and stomach churns with the disappointment of knowing I'm still in that fucking bedroom. The one that tells me I'm still in a nightmare that's beyond the one I'm currently in. I feel things move around the room, hear things that sound like whining, crying, and screaming. Then I hear something in the ceiling moving above me. It has many legs like a spider that weighs hundreds of pounds. And then I'm free. I hold still as the gradual release of the paralysis seeps through my muscles and joints. At this point, I feel like I've mostly learned how to cope with the nightmares. That thought would make me happy if I wasn't so crushed that I'm still here in this actual nightmare. Immediately, anxiety rises back into my chest as I realize how fucked up this actually is. How much sense this doesn't actually make. As far as I can tell, we've been drugged somehow and moved to this underground hellhole as an experiment of some kind. Someone in Echo had to have done this. One of those crazy old people, maybe Duke. He probably built this underground maze just to watch us lose our minds, probably getting off to it at the same time. That's a bit of a jump! Bit of a leap there! I don't know about that! I grip the bedsheets and grit my teeth, grimacing at the ceilings as I try not to cry. That had to be it. This isn't some kind of supernatural alternate dimension. This is real and someone's fucking with us. We're probably being watched by cameras that are set up in corners and peepholes right now. The idea sends a shiver down my spine and I glance to my left, scanning the wall for any inconsistencies. We need to get out of here as soon as we can, and the sooner we start moving the better. I hear a small whining grunt to my left. At that moment I look over and only to find Carl isn't in the bed next to me. I stare for a moment at the tangled mess of sheets on his side of the bed trailing off the side. Carl? Another grunt, and I hear Carl. At least I think it's Carl. His voice is deep, raspy, and it sounds like he's trying to get on some sort of weird accent that I've never heard him use.
My name is Soil.
What? Slowly I sit up, and that's when I see something white sitting next to the bed. What the fuck is that? Jesus is right. What? I jump and slide back on my ass away from it, almost falling off the other side of the bed. Staring at it a few seconds longer allows me to make out the clear shape of horns under a sheet. Carl is sitting next to the bed with a white sheet over his head, swaying back and forth gently. What the fuck, Carl? I shout whisper out of my earlier exclamation sounding way too loud in this quiet room. Look over at Raven, but somehow he's still curled up on the sofa, fast asleep. Turning my attention to Carl, I jump up again as I see that he's staring right at me. Who would be staring at me if the sheet wasn't in the way? Carl, what are you doing? This isn't fucking funny at all. I push myself off the bed, leaning against it to take the weight off my swollen ankle, now to twice its original size, and stand in front of Carl. I reach out to take the sheet off his head, but I hesitate. The horns, they look bigger than they should be, and the voice is so different.
Dating love.
Carl, you're scaring the shit out of me. My voice is weak and it cracks at the end as I lose my nerve. Had this place been getting to Carl more than he'd been letting on? But maybe he was just sleepwalking. I remember him doing that when he slept over at my house years ago. Reach out again, more slowly this time, but again I hesitate. I can't shake the feeling that if I pull it off, it won't be Carl. Suddenly, the horned head shakes back and forth violently, the grunting reaching a fever pitch. Shocked, I fall back on my rear, yelping as my ankle is jolted. I lean back at my hands, watching with wide eyes. Shaking so wild, and the sheet starts to slip off the head as whatever it was under the sheet is trying to shake it off. I brace myself, watching as the sheet slides slowly from the horns to reveal it's fucking Carl.
What the fuck? What the fuck? What the fuck? What the fuck?
Of course it's Carl. He stares back at me with bleary eyes like he's just woken up. I swallow hard. Carl, what are you doing? He's silent for a moment, then finally speaks.
I know what to do.